Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the English news from Djibouti channels. Here are the title of our edition tonight. The headlines are in the national event. Somaliland President continue his working visit to the different institutions of Djibouti. On the other hand, the historic victory of Djibouti against S20. For the continental news, Giuseppe Conte forms a new government in Italy. Good evening. The President of Somaliland, Mr. Musa Bihi Abdi, and his delegations have carried out successful emergence in various infrastructure of Djibouti Telecom to learn about the technology implement. Visit that the late President President Musa Bihi and his delegation to the premise of the submarine telecommunication cable landing stations and the data center in Haram Musa on the spot. They were welcomed by the Minister of Communication, Mr. Radwan Abdullahi Bahdan, and the Director General Mohammed Asouibuh. They followed the explanations of the General Manager, Mr. Mohammed Asouibuh, on Djibouti Telecom's new business development pools. And thus, it's necessary to specify with the double endorsement of its supervisory ministry and the government. The aim is to take advantage of the tremendous development of the telecommunication market on the regional and global scale. Then the President of Somaliland and his delegation went to Nagad stations. On the spot, they were welcomed by the Minister of Transport, Mr. Musa Mohammed Ahmed, and the Director General of Railways, Mr. Mahmoud Roble Dabar. The President and his delegations followed the Director General's explanations on the commissioning of the railways new electrified lines linking Ethiopia to Djibouti. The director indicated that the railway infrastructure has hence facilitated the movement of goods and people in both directions. It reduced the trip to a single day. It's a good thing since Ethiopia depends on a large extent of the port of Djibouti for its export and imports. After that, the President of Somaliland stressed that the people of Djibouti, despite its small territory compared to other African countries, have set themselves the ambitions of serving the major countries with sport architecture and its international free zone, which is the largest in Africa. Few countries in the world have this well and ambitious. All this was possible because Djibouti has made peace the foundation of its policy, while African country has been suffering from tragedies for a long time. It's only when a person lives in a peace that they can shape their future. Yesterday I visited the International Free Zone, which is a huge project with the objective of serving of all Africa, which also reflects the fact that Djibouti is moving from the national level to serve the continent. Today I visit telecommunication and submarine cables. Here too I observe that Djibouti with the DARE project, which is dedicated to increasing the level of connectivity of regional optical fibers, he quotes. The Prime Minister, Mr. Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, received two ambassadors, one from Yemen and the other from France, but also the new UNICEF representative. First, the ambassador of Republic of Yemen to Djibouti, Mr. Abdullahi Muslim, and the new French to Djibouti, Arnaud. The courtesy visit of the ambassador of the both ambassadors, a time when the country is going through, especially in Yemen, through a difficult time due to the conflict that has been going on since 2040. The Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed received also in audience the new ambassador of French, Mr. Arnaud Goulois. And then he received the representative of the NGO of and they talk about many issues related the ways and means to strengthen the cooperation and the partnership between Djibouti. The President of the Assembly, Mr. Mohammed Ali Hamad, received the Ambassador of Yemen to Djibouti, Mr. Abdullah Muslim, in the VIP lounge of the National Representation. The meeting was attended by the advisor to the President of Arab Affairs, Mr. Ali Amdan Abdu, and the Director of Legislative Procedure, Mr. Abdul Qadir Ibrahim Idris. The President of the Assembly and the Ambassador of France talk many issues focus on the state of bilateral relationship between the two sister countries of the Republic of Djibouti, but also of France, particularly on the regional scene and other areas. And after that, the President of the Assembly received the visit of the Ambassador of Egypt. They discussed many issues related the ways and means to strengthen the collaboration and the partnership between Djibouti and Egypt. The qualifying match for 2022 World Cup final in Qatar, which was posed yesterday at Goulet Stadium, Djibouti's team to that of Swatini in Southern Africa ended with the score 2-1 in favor of Djibouti team. The Djibouti public was numerous in the Goulet Stadium to support the Sharks. Djiboutians came massively to support their compatriots during this game. Djibouti Sharks and their opponent played a lively and suspenseful game with many goal-scoring opportunities. The first goal was scored by Djibouti Sharks in the first mid-time extensions, 0 in favor, and after that, following off that example, the team of Djibouti win that game, soccer game. Following the example of secondary school in the capital and in other regions, the General and the Hotel High School have started the new school year. In total, 530 students from the High School of Arta, almost 50 teachers have resumed the classes. After the summer holiday, the school year is at a time of joy and meet for high school students, some of whom were accompanied by their parents. A strong delegation including the authorities of the Arta region and the regional head of education supervised by the new school year in secondary schools. And the brigade investigator dismantled a network of counterfeit bank note dealers that have settled in the capital of the region. Indeed, the 3 individuals from the capital have settled in the Dikh region in order to initiate a counterfeit bank no traffic. After investigations, a first trafficker in charge of selling the counterfeit notes at the city market was arrested. He was in possession of 45,000 franc in counterfeit notes. Immediately, 2 other perpetrators of this case were arrested too and taken into police custody. On continental news, in Qatar unveiled the logo for the 2022 World Cup on Tuesday, projecting in simultaneously on the several buildings faced in Doha, but also in other major cities around the world, such as New York, London, and Paris. The World FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022, written in Arabic, font specially created for the occasion, accompanying the logo. The symbol was projected on some of Qatar's iconic buildings in front of hundreds of people at 2022 local time, the same time at 2022. Other cities around the world also announced that they would participate in this event by unveiling the logo on some of their buildings, such as Times Square in New York or Leicester Square in London, but also in Paris, Moscow, as well as Johannesburg. Here we arrive at the end of this news edition. Thank you for watching us. Goodbye.